Hello students, I'm Sunanda Maini and I'm here to take up your poem, A Thing of Beauty. A Thing of Beauty has been written by John Keats. John Keats is famous for his romantic poetry. He was in love with the beautiful things, be it the objects of nature or human beings. He is known for his some immemorable poetry about the beautiful things and the joy that comes from looking at beautiful things. Now, this particular poem, A Thing of Beauty, is an excerpt from his poem Endymion. It is an allegory in which he talks about a youth falling in love with goddess Cynthia. She descends from the moon to come and kiss her lover, and this fellow, this shepherd, gets so enchanted with the love that he receives from the goddess that he keeps wandering into the sky, under the earth, and into this world, everywhere looking out for that goddess Cynthia. Now, what is allegory? Allegory is a narrative fiction in which the agents and actions are contrived in a way that they appear to be real. Now, a thing of beauty is a joy forever. Its loveliness increases. It will never pass into nothingness, but will keep a bower quiet for us and a sleep full of sweet dreams and health and quiet breathing. Therefore, on every morrow, are we wreathing a flowery band to bind us to the earth, spite of despondence, of the inhuman dearth, of noble natures, of the gloomy days, of all the unhealthy and over-darkened ways made for our searching. Yes, in spite of all, some shape of beauty moves away the pall from our dark spirits, such the sun, the moon, trees old and young, sprouting a shady boon for simple sheep, and such are daffodils, with the green world they live in. And the clear rills, that for themselves a cooling covert make, 'gainst the hot season, the mid-forest brake, rich with a sprinkling of fair musk rose blooms, and such too is the grandeur of dooms. We have imagined for the mighty dead all lovely tales that we have heard or read, an endless fountain of immortal drink, pouring unto us from the heavens' brink. Now, this part of the poem is the beginning of the bigger poem named Endymion, and in this particular excerpt, which has been included in the syllabus of class 12th, the poet talks about the endless joy that one derives by looking at the beautiful things. So let me explain the poem line for line, word for word, right from the beginning. A thing of beauty is joy forever. This is a famous proverb. A thing of beauty is joy forever. It means when we look at beautiful things, they give us joy, and they keep giving us joy forever. It is not that they will give us joy for 1 minute or 2 minutes. It's endless, eternal joy. Its loveliness increases. That means the more we look at beautiful things, the more we admire them, the more pleasure we get out of it. Its loveliness increases. That means their appeal, the beauty of the beautiful object appeals to us as and when we look, and the more we look, the better we feel. It will never pass into nothingness. So never will a time come when the joy that we derive by looking at beautiful things will come to an end. It will never happen that we do not feel happy by looking at beautiful things. It keeps on increasing. The more we look at them, the better and the happier we feel. But will keep a bower quiet for us. Bower is a shady place built by the shade of leaves of trees. And a sleep full of sweet dreams and health and quiet breathing. Now what he means here is that when we look at beautiful things, the kind of pleasure we derive, the kind of happiness that we get by looking at beautiful things is similar to the joy that we get when we sleep in a shady place. When tired travelers sleep under the trees, they feel happy and relaxed. So this kind of relaxation is akin to the kind of pleasure we feel while we look at the beautiful things. And then further he says, this kind of happiness and pleasure is also similar to the kind of pleasure we get if we enjoy good health and a quiet breathing. Quiet breathing means meditation. The kind of relaxation we get after meditation is similar to the joy we get by looking at beautiful things. Therefore, on every morrow means every morning, are we wreathing a flowery band to bind us to the earth? Now, when we get up in the morning, we are trying to count on our blessings. We are trying to count on our pleasures. And we are trying to put them together. Wreath means, wreath a flowery band to bind us to the earth means, you must have seen that there are people who are selling wreaths of flowers everywhere. Garlands. Wreaths mean garlands. So, every morning when we get up, we are putting together the joys of our life to bind us to the earth. That means to stay us on this earth. They rejuvenate us. Otherwise, this life is full of sorrows. Something that holds us back on this earth holds us back to the earth is the joy that we derive by looking at the beautiful things. Otherwise, this life is so gloomy and full of sorrows that nobody wants to live on this earth. It is only by looking at the beautiful things that we feel rejuvenated and want to live on this earth. Spite of despondence. Spite of despondence means state of hopelessness. Of the inhuman dearth of noble natures. That means there is an utter shortage of good human beings on this earth. Of the gloomy days, sad days, of all the unhealthy and over-darkened ways made for our searching. It means that there are so many unhealthy, that means unpleasant, and over-darkened ways, not much hope is left. Now, if I connect all these words and connect all these lines, the gist comes to the fact that this life is full of sorrows and gloom, where we feel hopeless and there is dearth. Dearth means lack. There is lack of good human beings, of noble natures, noble souls. It is full of sorrow. Life is full of sorrows and unhealthy and over-darkened ways. That means where we feel hopeless, where we have lost all hope and we feel that we cannot do much about it and we just want to give up. There are times when we do not feel interested in living on this earth. At that time, when we look at the beautiful things, when we recount our joys of looking at beautiful things, these things, they bind us to the earth. They force us, they motivate us, they inspire us to live as long as we enjoy life. And we keep on enjoying life only till the time we look at beautiful things. They instill life into us. Otherwise, we are left for searching our ways. We keep on searching, we keep on finding new and noveler ways of living on this earth. We feel disappointed, we feel frustrated when we are confronted with the gloom on this earth, when we are confronted with the sorrowful experiences. And how do we come across sorrowful experiences? When we meet inhuman people, when we feel that there are not enough good people on this earth. We feel that we do not want to linger on in this life and we want to die. But as and when we look at the beautiful things, the joys that we get out of them, they will help us to live on this earth. Yes, in spite of all, some shape of beauty moves away the pall. He says, in spite of all the sorrows, in spite of all the gloom on this earth, some shape of beauty moves away the pall. So some beautiful object will remove the gloom, the cloud. Pall means the cloud of sorrow in our lives. From our dark spirits, such as the sun, the moon, trees old and young, sprouting a shady boon for simple sheep, and such are daffodils with the green world they live in. Now the poet is trying to explain the objects of beauty. Whatever we look around can be beautiful to our own eyes, which will bind us to the earth. Now, in spite of all the gloom in our lives, some shape of beauty moves away the pall from our dark spirits. Our dark spirits means our dampened spirits. When we give up hope, we do not want to live on this earth. So at that time, some object of beauty will come into our life and rejuvenate us. So what are those objects of beauty? They can be the sun, the moon, trees old and young, sprouting a shady boon for the simple sheep. So even the simple sheep is again symbolic of the innocence. Sheep was very dear to Jesus. So it is a beautiful animal because it symbolizes innocence. And such are daffodils with the green world they live in. So daffodils are again a beautiful flower which are surrounded by leaves, and these flowers, trees, the sun, the moon, the sheep, and clear rills. Clear rills mean streams, the clear water streams, that for themselves a cooling covert make against the hot season. So these clear streams, they make a cooling covert. Cooling covert is a shady place where you experience the cool weather. It's because of these streams, the flow of the water, the evaporation of the water from that stream, which causes coolness over there. Against the hot season, in very hot weather, you can experience coolness by sitting near the clear streams. And that is in itself a beautiful experience. And the kind of joy we get from there will bind us to this earth. It will motivate us to live on the earth and face the problems. The mid-forest brake, rich with a sprinkling of fair musk rose, blooms. And such too is the grandeur of the dooms. Now he says, besides all this, the mid-forest brake, that is the vegetation, the group, the clusters of flowers in the middle of the forests are also a thing of beauty. Rich with a sprinkling of fair musk rose blooms. Fair musk rose are the flowers that grow in forests. They are also beautiful to look at, and such too is the grandeur of dooms. Grandeur means magnificence. Dooms means dead. So the magnificent stories about the dead warriors. Let's go a little further. We have imagined for the mighty dead all the lovely tales that we have heard or read. I'll just go to the last line of the previous page. And such too is the grandeur of the dooms. So the poet finds beauty in the magnificence of the stories about the dead warriors. He finds that the stories which we have heard or imagined about the strong, the mighty, the brave kings, the lovely tales means the lovely stories that we have heard or read about the powerful kings. In their death is also magnificence, and that magnificence gives us joy. That joy is again one of the joys which will bind us to the earth. An endless fountain of immortal drink, pouring unto us from the heaven's brink. So all these things of beauty, which include the sun, the moon, the trees, the fair musk roses that grow in the middle of the forest, the clear streams, and the powerful stories of the dead warriors. These give us joy, and this joy is like an endless fountain of the immortal drink. Immortal drink refers to nectar here, which immortalizes man. So man keeps going on in his life despite the problems and sorrows when he looks at these beautiful things. And that beautiful, the joy by looking at that beautiful thing is like a nectar. It is like an elixir which keeps him alive throughout, pouring unto us from the heaven's brink. And this drink is poured from the heaven's brink. Brink means right, it is filled right up to the top. So that is overflowing from the heaven and coming down on the earth to the mankind to keep him alive, to keep him going on life, which is otherwise full of sorrows and gloom. Man does not want to live on this earth because it has more sorrows and grief to face. But when he looks at the beautiful things, he gets immense joy, joy which would never end. And this joy is a kind of a wreath. It is a kind of a garland which will motivate him to live on this earth. Now that's all about the poem, and this is just the first part, the beginning of the big poem, Endymion. We need to understand the message of the poet, that is to experience joy in the beautiful objects. So that will help us live on the earth forever. It's like a nectar. All what poet wants from you is to look at the beautiful objects and enjoy their beauty. Thank you, students, and I'll be back with the question answers on the poem in my next video.